Genesis 7:6. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of the waters was upon the earth. 600 is the Ner. In Hebrew, Ner carries the root of lamp, light counted out to its full measure, the complete span of illumination before the field discharges. It is the base 60 absolute macrospatial volumetric capacity, the literal expiration limit of the Taurus. When the system reaches the pressure of the 600, the mem, the magnetic waters have reached their saturation. This is the white hole inversion of the pre-diluvian world. The toroidal field completing its saturation, hitting the event horizon and inverting from a black hole centripetal inhalation into a white hole centrifugal exhalation. This is the geometry that governs the 9-year gestation of the light body of man in the new age of Aquarius. Before the 600 capacity of the Noahic container breaks, the 12 base matrix must be perfectly sealed. This seal is executed by Lamech, the powerful, the striker. This represents the vertical pillar of electrical tension immediately prior to the white hole inversion. To seal the toroidal engine, the striker must physically lock the dual hemisphere Taurus, coupling both the projective electrical radiance above and the receptive magnetic ground below into a single unified field. Genesis 4:19. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zilla. These are the electromagnetic binding of the upper and lower planes of the realm. Ada translates to ornament or dawn. She is the projective electrical anode and the dielectric radiance of the upper hemisphere. She represents the radiant 2D plane above the dielectric tropical gap, the illuminated projection of light from above. Zilla translates to shadow or shade. She is the receptive magnetic cathode and the terrestrial shadow of the lower hemisphere. She represents the dense subterranean lower hemisphere, the physical dust, the dark belly of the serpent's traverse. Lamech, the 777 kinetic strike, marries both the light and the shadow. Lamech grounds this circuit by coupling with Ada, the projective electrical anode and dielectric radiance of the upper field, and Zilla, the receptive magnetic cathode and terrestrial shadow of the lower ground. This triad forms a complete macroscopic capacitor, establishing the physical chiral mirror required to hold the charge. Lamech locks the 360-degree exhale and the 360-degree inhale together, bringing the 720-degree container to its absolute volumetric maximum. The field is fully sealed. Here's Lamech. Up to the tropical gap, down, crossing under to the Antarctic, up to the tropical gap, down and crossing under, back to source, and then sealing with 57 degrees, tightening, which seals the full complete circuit. The field is fully sealed. Genesis 4:22. And Zilla, she also bare Tubalcain, an instructor of every artificier in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubalcain was Naamah. Zilla, the shadow, the receptive magnetic cathode, bears Tubalcain and his sister Naamah. Tubalcain, the name itself carries the architecture. Tubal, from the Hebrew yabal, means to flow forth, to carry, to bring forth, the same root as jubal and jabal, Cain, Cain, means acquired, forged, the spear point. Through the letters, Tav is the cross and the boundary, Vav is the central connector and pin, and Bet is the house and vessel. Lamed is the staff of authority. Cain is the forged point, the authority of the connector within the house, driven to the spear point. Two hemispheres joined by the vertical axis, driven to the anchor. Your ear hears Tubalcain, two spheres on a staff. That is the toroidal architecture. Two capacitor hemispheres joined by the vertical Vav axis. The name is the diagram. Tubalcain represents the physical atmospheric circuitry of the dielectric tropical gap. Brass designates the highly conductive atmospheric plasma conduits, providing the impedance matching of the field, the precise harmonic transference, allowing the upper electrical frequency to flow without resistance into the lower magnetic ground. Iron acts as the ferromagnetic stators, pinning the planetary magnetic flux lines into their fixed positions, anchoring the rotating field geometry against the drift. Together, brass and iron constitute the complete conductive and structural circuitry of the atmospheric bridge between above and below. Nama translates to the beautiful or the pleasant. When the striker, the electrical catalyst of 777, intersects the absolute density of the shadow at the structural limit, it generates the beautiful. The name is precise. It is what the field produces when the electric and magnetic forces achieve perfect intersection at maximum tension. Nama is the stabilized geometric bloom, the acoustic harmonic resonance, the standing wave generated at the exact intersection of the electrical field of Eta and the magnetic field of Zilla. Her frequency ensures that the atmospheric geometry remains in perfect phase lock. She is the perfected physical seed generated by the extreme tension of the old matrix, the 777, at its fullest capacity. Born of the shadow, the physical ground, she represents the earthly biological vessel forged to perfection in the dark. She is the geometric blueprint that survives the flood to ensure the new white hole expansion is structurally sound. When the volumetric nodes of the patriarchal timeline are subtracted from one another, the hidden sacred geometry of the entire Holocene epoch reveals itself. Adam, 930, minus Lamech, 777, equals 153, the Vesca Piscis. This is the total span of the physical descent from the first terrestrial anchor to the final pre-flood seal. This is the precise eternal geometry of the Vesca Piscis. It maps the literal physical construction of the womb within the realm. The pressure and time spanned between the first man, Adam, 930, and the final seal, Lamech, 777, built the exact geometry required to safely house the seed. 153, the Vesca Piscis, holding the seed of the light body of man. Lamech, 777, minus Shem, Lamech, 777, minus Shem, 600, equals 177. The structural seal of the old world minus the boundary of 600 equals 177. The geometric approach, moving rapidly towards the 180-degree flip of the white hole inversion. Shem, 600, minus Arphaxad, 438, equals 162. Arphaxad is 78. Arphaxad at 78 and Isaac at 180 are anchored after the flood. Shem, 600, minus Arphaxad, 438, equals 162. The boundary of the old world minus the first radiant burst of the new world approaches the fractal harmonic of the golden ratio. 162 divided by 100 equals 1.62, resonating within 0.002 of phi at 1.618. The post-flood lifespans shift from a collapsing black hole into an ascending centrifugal white hole spiral of ascension. The flood is the exact moment the Taurus stops inhaling and begins to exhale. The patriarchal sequence maps the exact physics of traversing this singularity. Methuselah at 969 is the contraction at maximum density. The dart reaching 249 degrees, the absolute gravitational collapse of the lower hemisphere. Lamech at 777 is the volumetric seal, the collapsing geometric container locked at 777 capacity, binding Anode and Zilla, the light and the shadow, into one complete macroscopic capacitor field. Noah at 600 is the event horizon. The 600 spatial capacity is reached. Noah operates as the stable still point, traversing the 0 point compression, resting in the arc while the spatial boundaries undergo the geometric reset of the white hole inversion. Shem carries the Shin, the kinetic fire, and the Mem, the magnetic waters. Shin Mem, the standing wave of the closed frequency field. The Aleph, the source spark, is absent. Shem is the resonance of the 12-base matrix, holding its form without living connection to source. He constructs the 600-year structural scaffold required to invert the magnetic flux without destroying the timeline. He is the architect of the old frequency that the new age must overwrite. Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. The men of renown are the men of Shem. The Hebrew word rendered renown is Shem. Shem is the standing wave of the 12-base matrix. The Nephilim carry Shem as their defining frequency, the field's power simplified to its greatest possible intensity within the 12-base architecture. They appear in Genesis 6 precisely as Methuselah reaches 249 degrees and the dart approaches its release point. The men of Shem are the field itself at the absolute ceiling, the maximum bandwidth of the closed loop before the reset and the flood. The flood that follows is the reset that maximum saturation made inevitable. Arphaxad at 438 years, anchoring at 78 degrees, is the radiant burst, the boundary releaser. He initiates the post-inversion centrifugal expansion. Energy radiates upward and outward. Isaac, at 180 years, anchors at exactly 180 degrees. Laughter, joy. He lands on the absolute structural hinge at the tropical gap, the equatorial equilibrium between the black hole inhale and the white hole exhale. Isaac, Yitzhak in Hebrew, from the root tzachak, means laughter. The acoustic signature of the phase conjugate wave completing its descent and finding the reflection point, the coordinate where the light body is born. Abraham is told in Genesis 21:12 that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. The lineage of the light body passes through the 180-degree hinge, through the coordinate of perfect reflection. His arc coordinate of 180 degrees reduces to 9, the light body arriving at the 9 of completion, at the perfect equatorial threshold.